Trump just gave an anti-Semitic speech dripping with hatred, and the internet is horrified. This is an article by Travis Geddes. Donald Trump lashed out at global elites who undermined American sovereignty through international banks, and many observers couldn't help but notice the underlying anti-Semitic message. By the way, this next paragraph is unrelated. Republican presidential candidate flatly denied recent reports of women claiming he sexually abused or assaulted them. What does that have to do with the previous paragraph? You have to have some sort of thematic cohesion. This isn't art. A lot of these writers treat Trump articles as just free-for-alls, where they can just list every single perceived moral transgression that Trump has partaken in, even if they don't have anything to do with the main story. But let's just go here. Just to remind you, because the media hasn't been beating you over the head with anti-Trump sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to play a little clip from the speech.
Power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors.
All right, so first of all, nothing anti-Semitic there. Here's what. Like, let's cut to the fucking chase, first of all. What's funny is that liberals will so often criticize the 1%. They will criticize Wall Street. They will criticize, big bankers and businessmen and just the rich in general. Oh, but now Trump criticizes bankers and it's anti-Semitic suddenly. So, this is such a bizarre train of thought. First of all, the author is conflating, Jewishness with bankers. So, banking is almost intrinsic, apparently, to the Jewish identity, according to the author, because nothing, and I'm gonna read this article, he doesn't really actually say, this author doesn't say anything, of course, of substance, but he doesn't explain why this is anti-Semitic beyond just, oh, we're supposed to automatically associate, bankers with Jewish people. So I'll read on for a second. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, economic and foreign policies, bleeding our country dry. The election will determine whether we are a free country in the truest sense. Anyway, so many internet users were alarmed at Trump's language, noting its reliance on anti-Semitic themes and more suited to a fascist dictator than a presidential candidate. Okay, so again, like I just said, nothing here, none of these tweets, by the way, are gonna actually explain why it's anti-Semitic. Trump just gave a fascist diatribe. The denial of sexual misconduct is secondary to the political paranoia. So it was those shackles that kept Trump from going completely anti-Semitic. By the way, the title, "The Internet is Horrified." The Internet, or this, you're calling a few tweets, you're calling like maybe 20 tweets here. So is it the Internet that's horrified, or a small subset of probably Jewish Twitter users? By the way, this is modern day journalism, is citing tweets. Think about how fucking pathetic this is. Did Trump actually say this? Because if you don't think this statement has anti-Semitic undertones, then you're not thinking clearly. You're right, because we need to conflate the Jewish identity with banking and with elites. Every elite is Jewish. Thank you for admitting that. Thank you for admitting that every banker is Jewish, and thank you for admitting that the 1% are Jewish and not usually white, actually. By the way, here we go. This guy has the parentheses around his name, meaning he is very likely a joke account. So does this guy, parentheses, meaning he is very likely a joke account. He is a member of, he is alt-right, maybe, person satirically posting. So great reporting on Travis Geddes' part. So let's see. Again, look, I'm reading all these tweets and they say Trump's speech is fascist and anti-Semitic. But absolutely none of them explain why. And so we are just supposed to infer from this article that, and the article ends there. We're supposed to infer that Jewish people and bankers are two things that can't be disassociated from each other. So, and once again, it's such a bizarre, so leftists can criticize the 1% all they want, but Trump mentions bankers specifically and international banks in relation to Hillary Clinton, and suddenly that's anti-Semitic. So why is criticizing the 1% not anti-Semitic, but this suddenly is? So it's just, it's pathetic, actually. And what's funny is, that even pointing out, let's say Trump even said these Jewish bankers, let's say he actually said Jewish bankers, pointing out that a certain group occupy a certain position, financial, position in society. There's nothing inherently, negative about that. It's like if I said most rappers tend to be black people. There's nothing inherently racist about that statement because it's observing a fact, and if anything, it can be seen as a positive thing. So if I'm saying most Jewish people tend to be richer than other people, that's not anti-Semitic because that's literally almost a compliment in a way, especially by the materialistic standards that most of these people operate by. They want to be rich, so saying they're rich and saying they occupy these positions of power is not an insult. It's more of a compliment, if anything. Not for me, though, because I don't care about that sort of materialistic outlook, but for other people, it would be should be perceived as a compliment. So, this criticism of the upper class is, something that is inherent to leftists' talking points. And so people love to say white privilege. People love to say that white people control everything and have been the originators of systemic and institutionalized racism. And so it's okay to say that white people all have all the privilege in the world, and they all occupy these positions of power. But when you say that Jewish people have all the power in the world and occupy all the advantage and privilege in the world, occupy these positions of power and have money, that is anti-Semitic. But criticizing white people, that's not racist. That's not anything. That's just, so here is this is fascism. Let me tell you. This is funny. It's so funny because this is what these people are doing is using using words and criticism which can be applied to them, and they're ruthlessly applying it to other people in order to deflect the criticism of their own character. So these people are fascists, and they are using the word fascist. They are trying to take control of the word. When you take control of the word, and this coincides with the redefining of words. I did a video on how racism equals power plus privilege, or power plus prejudice. I did a video on that phrase, which seems to be going around, and that's the exact same thing as this. It's the redefining of words in order to immunize yourself from criticism, using these words which could very well be applied to yourself, but you ruthlessly take control of this word and you push it onto someone else, and therefore no one will suspect you no one will think of applying these words to yourself. So if we say that white people are privileged, they have all the power, there you go. I don't know if it's just Jewish people, but it's elites taking control of this word and saying you can criticize these people all you want, but don't mention Jewish people. You can't mention Jewish people have power or privilege because that would be anti-Semitic. So it is a very interesting word game, and it is a very interesting psychological game that the media is playing, and the media are obviously paid for by the Clinton campaign. And if anyone thinks that's somehow absurd, you can look up Operation Mockingbird, because that's literally the exact same thing which happened in, I believe, the 60s or 70s. So all these articles are paid for by the Clinton campaign and the establishment and the elites to smear Trump's name, and again, and here we go. So, and this is what they're just admitting. This is them admitting. They're boldfacedly admitting that yes, Jewish people tend to control most things. Jewish people, there are Jewish bankers. Oh, but you can't criticize them because they happen to be Jewish. But you can criticize the 1%, and you can go to Occupy Wall Street protests and all of this. It's so fucking pathetic, and it's so transparent. And I want to point out another interesting thing. Another article from a while ago, a few months ago. Trump wants GOP to court black voters, then slams voting rights for felons. So this is the same thought process. Black people are conflated with felons. And so black identity is intrinsic to, committing felonies. So felons and black people can become conflated, and so they are one being. And so when you criticize felons, you're criticizing black people. And it's so absurd. It's so racist as well. This itself is anti-Semitic. This whole article can be perceived as anti-Semitic. And this can be perceived as very incredibly racist towards black people. But liberals can't be racist, can they? They can't be racist because the media tells you that liberals can't possibly be racist. It's only the evil Republicans who are racist. Trump just gave an anti-Semitic speech dripping with hatred, and the internet is horrified. This is an article by Travis Geddes. Donald Trump lashed out at global elites who undermined America.
In which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors.
All right, so first of all, the previous paragraph, you have to have some sort of thematic cohesion. This isn't a lot of these writers treat Trump articles as just free-for-alls, where they can just list every single perceived moral transgression that Trump has partaken in, even if they don't. American sovereignty through international banks, and many observers couldn't help but notice the underlying anti-Semitic message. By the way, this next paragraph is unrelated. Republican presidential candidate flatly denied recent reports of women claiming he sexually abused or assaulted them. What does that have to do with have anything to do with the main story, but let's just go here. Just to remind you, because the media hasn't been beating you over the head with anti-Trump sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to play a little clip from the speech.
Power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks document.